The manufacturing of a gas tank begins with material control. Before a single piece enters production, the steel must demonstrate that it meets a very particular combination of properties. At first glance, one might think that a safe tank needs the hardest steel possible, but in reality, the opposite occurs. To manufacture domestic LPG cylinders, low-carbon steels suitable for deep drawing are used, materials that are chosen not for their extreme rigidity, but for their ability to deform significantly without cracking. That detail completely changes the logic of the process. A steel that is too hard might seem stronger, but it would break when the press attempted to convert a flat disc into a hemisphere. A suitable steel, on the other hand, accepts deformation, distributes stresses better, and resists mechanical work without opening microcracks. For this reason, a coil weighing tons does not go directly to the production line. First, a sample is taken for testing. In a traction machine, that specimen is stretched until it breaks. What the technicians observe is not only the maximum force it supports, but how much it elongates before failing, how the material flows, and if its behavior remains within the range required by standards. If the batch of steel does not comply, there is no possible process. Everything ends there. If it complies, only then does the coil pass to cutting. That initial decision is critical because each finished tank will carry flammable gas for years, and any structural weakness sown at the origin can become a leak or a future rupture. But the safety of the tank does not depend only on the metal. It also depends on understanding the nature of the product it will contain. Many people think of gas as if there were only a space filled with pressurized vapor inside the cylinder. It is not like that. In an LPG cylinder, propane and butane are stored mainly in a liquid state. That is the key that allows a large amount of energy to be stored in a relatively small container. In a liquid state, gas occupies a much smaller volume than in a gaseous state. Thanks to that, a domestic cylinder can contain enough fuel for days or weeks of normal use. However, that same principle requires a fundamental safety rule. The tank is never completely filled. A free volume is always left at the top. That space is not a waste. It is an indispensable reserve to allow for the expansion of the liquid when the temperature increases. If a cylinder were 100% full and heated up, the expansion of the contents would cause an extremely dangerous pressure increase. The free margin acts as a compensation chamber. It is invisible to the user, but from an engineering point of view, it is a decisive frontier between safe operation and potentially catastrophic overpressure. This concept explains why a well-manufactured tank does not depend on a single safety barrier. Its resistance starts in the steel, continues in the geometric shape of the container, and is completed by the way it will be used. A domestic cylinder not only has to withstand the normal pressure of the stored gas, it must resist impacts, temperature changes, daily handling, filling and emptying cycles, and years of use in variable environments. Geometry also helps. The rounded shape of the bodies and ends is not accidental. Curved surfaces distribute internal stresses better than shapes with angles or edges. When a container holds pressure, the loads tend to be distributed more uniformly if the volume is cylindrical or spherical. That is why gas cylinders are not designed like metal boxes. Each curve exists to avoid dangerous concentrations of stress. Once the material is approved, the steel coil passes to blanking. From there come circular discs that look like simple pieces, barely cut out sheets. But those pieces are the basis of what will later be the tank. At this point, a container does not yet exist. Only metal prepared to be transformed exists. And before that transformation begins, there is already a central idea installed in the entire process. A gas tank is not safe because it is thick, heavy, or robust to the naked eye. It is safe because every decision, from the chemical composition of the steel to the empty space it will have inside, was made to control pressure, absorb deformations, and prevent a normal working condition from ending in a failure. In other words, the secret of why they do not explode is not found in a single miraculous piece. It is in a sequence of accumulated measures. First, a steel is chosen that can deform without breaking. Then a shape is designed that distributes stresses. After that, a filling is established that never occupies the entire volume. From the beginning, everything is oriented toward the same objective, to prevent the container from reaching a critical condition. With the steel already approved, the most visible part of manufacturing begins. The cut discs enter a high-capacity hydraulic press. There, a transformation occurs that completely defines the future of the tank. A flat piece of steel begins to sink and deform until it acquires a hemispherical or domed geometry. This is not a simple bending. It is a deep drawing process where the material flows under enormous forces and changes its shape without losing continuity. This step is not usually done all at once. If an attempt were made to take the steel directly from a flat disc to its final shape in a single stroke, the risk of cracking would be too high. Therefore, manufacturing is divided into several successive stages. Between one and another, many plants incorporate thermal annealing. During these cycles, the metal is heated to relieve internal stresses accumulated during deformation. Annealing restores ductility and prepares the piece to continue being shaped without cracking. That detail is decisive. A crack generated during forming can be so small that it is not seen with the naked eye, but under internal pressure and after years of service, it becomes a weak point. The safety of the tank depends on avoiding these failures from the first moment, not on discovering them too late. At the end of this phase, the two halves of the future cylinder appear. They are curved, symmetrical pieces with controlled thicknesses. At this point, geometry already matters as much as the material. A small variation in thickness can alter the tank's ability to distribute pressure. Therefore, the pieces pass through dimensional inspections. Sensors, gauges, and control systems verify curvature, diameter, concentricity, and thickness. If one half does not respect the tolerances, it is not corrected with improvisation. It is discarded. When both halves are approved, the most critical stage arrives. The circumferential welding that joins the two parts and forms the complete body of the cylinder. That union is not a simple external bead. It is the structural line that must behave as if the tank had been a single piece from the beginning. To achieve this, the welding is performed with strictly controlled parameters. Current, travel speed, heat input and gas protection must be maintained within very precise ranges. A deviation can leave a lack of penetration, porosity or inclusions, defects that compromise mechanical integrity. Automation has a huge advantage here. It allows for repeating exactly the same welding conditions from one tank to another, but even so, the process is not taken for granted until it is inspected. The welded bead passes through non-destructive testing, such as ultrasound, capable of detecting internal discontinuities invisible from the outside. The logic is simple. The weld must demonstrate that its interior is as reliable as its exterior appearance. Once the main body is joined, other essential elements are added. In the lower part, the base or support ring is installed. Its function is not minor. It must keep the tank stable, distribute weight, and protect the bottom from direct contact with the ground. In the upper part, the neck or bung where the valve will be threaded is incorporated. That area requires high-precision machining because any imperfection in the thread can cause leaks. Not only is the hermeticity of the container at stake there, but also the control of gas entry and exit. Then comes one of the most revealing moments of the process, the hydraulic test. Before being painted or finished, the tank is filled completely with water and subjected to a pressure much higher than the service pressure. Water is not used by chance. Unlike gas, it is practically incompressible. If the tank were to fail during this test, it would not produce a violent explosion, as would happen with a pressurized gas. The test allows for pushing the container to the limit in a safe manner. During that test, it is observed whether there are leaks, permanent deformations, or anomalous behaviors. A suitable tank must withstand the test pressure without suffering damage. If it does not, it stays out of the process. A logic of structural patching is not accepted in a container that will store flammable fuel. Selection is strict because the cost of allowing a defective piece would be too high. Once the hydraulic test is passed, the cylinder moves to surface preparation. Shot blasting removes rust, scale and contaminants and leaves a controlled roughness that will allow the adhesion of subsequent coatings. This part often goes unnoticed, but it is essential for durability. A gas tank not only has to withstand internal pressure, it must also resist humidity, impacts, handling, environmental exposure and corrosion. Poorly adhered paint or a poorly prepared surface can shorten years of useful life. Then the primer and external finish are applied. The colors are not merely aesthetic, In many storage and distribution systems, chromatic identification helps distinguish types of gases and categories of use. The paint, in addition to identifying, protects. In the final stage of this manufacturing chapter, the tank already looks complete. It has a definitive shape, finished welds, a protected surface, and machined areas ready for assembly. But a decisive component for understanding why it does not explode is still missing: the valve and the entire system that controls the pressure and flow of the gas. Structural resistance alone is not enough. A device is needed that is capable of sealing, regulating, and in extreme cases, releasing pressure before the body of the tank is compromised. If the body of the tank is the structure that contains the pressure, the valve is the component that governs it. In a gas cylinder, this piece fulfills more functions than it appears. It not only opens and closes the passage of fuel, it also ensures the hermeticity of the assembly, connects the container with regulators and hoses, and in modern models incorporates relief systems that act when the pressure exceeds a dangerous threshold. The installation of the valve is carried out with torque control. That detail is important because insufficient tightening can facilitate leaks, while excessive tightening can damage the thread or deform sealing components. Once mounted, the valve must integrate into the tank as if it were a natural part of the system. No play, leakage, or misalignment can exist. In current designs, many valves include overpressure safety devices. Their function is critical. If for some reason the cylinder heats up more than expected, the internal pressure increases. Instead of letting that increase continue until the resistance of the metal is compromised, the valve can release gas in a controlled manner. That principle totally changes the behavior of the tank in the face of an extreme condition. A container without relief is forced to withstand all the increasing pressure until its structural limit. One with relief has a way to discharge part of that energy before reaching the critical point. That is one of the main reasons why a modern tank does not explode easily, even if it is full of flammable gas. The danger of gas exists, but it is managed by layers of security. First, the body is designed to resist normal and test pressure. Second, the filling leaves a free margin for thermal expansion. Third, the valve controls the flow and can act in case of overpressure. Fourth, the complete tank has passed tests before leaving the factory. After assembly comes the final inspection. Here, the general condition of the container, the correct placement of the valve, the continuity of the coating, and the legibility of marks and engravings are verified. Those engravings are more important than they seem. They record manufacturing data, batch, capacity, reference standard, test pressure, and date. That traceability allows for following the history of the tank throughout its useful life. In many countries, cylinders are inspected periodically. They are not supposed to last forever without control. Every few years, their condition is reviewed, the valve is checked, external wear is evaluated, and the hydraulic test is repeated. A suitable tank remains in service. One that does not pass the control is retired. This policy explains another reason why they do not explode easily. They do not depend solely on having been well manufactured, they also depend on being periodically verified. In the case of industrial tanks, the level of requirement is even higher. There, thicknesses increase, capacities are much larger, and the consequences of a failure would be much more severe. Therefore, thicker sheets are used, as well as highly responsible longitudinal and circumferential welds and radiographic tests capable of seeing inside the bead as if the metal were transparent. Industrial radiography allows for locating pores, lack of fusion, and inclusions before the tank is approved. Industrial hydraulic tests are also on another scale. A container of thousands of liters must be filled completely with water, pressurized, and remain under control for a prolonged time. Then it is emptied and dried carefully to avoid internal corrosion. If the tank is buried, it may receive cathodic protection through sacrificial anodes, a solution that transfers corrosion to a consumable metal to preserve the main body of the reservoir intact. All this leads to the central question. If the interior contains flammable gas, why do they not explode? The complete answer combines several factors. They do not explode because the gas is stored inside a container calculated to work with pressure. They do not explode because the steel has been chosen for its capacity for deformation and resistance. They do not explode because the curved shape of the tank distributes stresses better. They do not explode because they are not filled to 100%, leaving free volume for expansion. They do not explode because the welds are inspected. They do not explode because before leaving the factory, they were subjected to tests more severe than those of normal use. They do not explode because the valve can limit extreme situations. And they do not explode because, when the system works as it should, each layer protects the next. That does not mean they are indestructible. A tank can become a risk if it suffers severe impacts, advanced corrosion, prolonged exposure to intense fire, incorrect handling, or use with defective components. Safety is not born only from design but also from conservation. But the essential difference is that the tank does not depend on a permanent fragility. It is built to coexist for years with a dangerous product without failing under normal conditions.